Peace and love, y'all. It's your girl, Melanie Charles, aka D Flower. And I'm with my favorite co-host,
Unimo, aka Unimohica. Maybe I should say Unimohica, aka Unimo.
Yes. How you feeling, Uni?
I'm feeling all right. You know, life be lifing sometimes, but I'm here. I'm grateful, blessed, and happy to see your beautiful face.
I'm sad for the people that they don't get to see you because the curls are popping right now. Like it's giving me life. It's giving me life. So thank you for that. I'm excited because I'm in LA right now in the middle of tour, and this is the first time that I was able to get my mobile set. So I'm feeling, professional and stuff.
You know, we trying to be professional out here.
You know, like last week, 2 weeks ago, you definitely came for me and you were like, Mel, are you serious about this podcast?
I know.
And I'm like, yes, you're like, then we need to do this every week. And I was like, Jesus, Uni's right. So I was like, let me get my mobile set up so I don't have no excuses for Miss Uni Mo.
Listen. And then karma came back around on me. I was like, Uni.
But, this is all part of the process. And this is really teaching me, how like consistency is important, but like also life things happen and you got to be graceful and just move with the flow. So thank you. I really appreciate you being my partner in crime in this MJTA podcast journey.
You. And on behalf of all of MJTA listeners, we all want to wish you a happy birthday, Mel.
Oh, thank you, guys.
All your fans, lovers, and friends, happy birthday, Mel. Pisces season.
Thank you so much. It feels really good to be alive another year. I'm very grateful. I have more clarity about the things I want to do in my life. And I'm just really excited about what the future holds. But I'm also like, okay, I'm officially a grown woman. Like officially, like nobody could tell me anything. Like, all right, I'll tell you guys, I'm 36 years old. Okay, I'll tell you, I never really say my age, but I'm 36. You know what I mean? And people are like, you've been grown, but I'm like, I'm Haitian, and like Haitian people are never grown. You're always a child. You know what I mean? But I feel like I'm ready to release that, and like I'm really excited to move in the world as like in my divine feminine, in my strength, and my confidence, in my full adulthood.
Amen.
Well,
what's our generation? Oh, yes.
What were you gonna say? What's my what?
I was gonna say, what is our generation called? Are we millennials or Gen Zs? We're millennials, right?
We're millennials. Gen Z is after us, right? Or are we Gen Z?
No, we're millennials.
We're millennials.
We're millennials. We're millennials.
Yeah. Are you saying that that's really a millennial thing of like feel like delayed feeling of like full adulthood?
We're struggling with that for sure, because we're coming into we're stepping into us being the elder statesmen in some senses in our mid 30s, going into 40 and all of that. So it's definitely something that our generation right now is grappling with, because we were the younger ones and now we're not.
But also I wonder if it's like our generation was like easy education, but like economy was bad, and so kids stayed home longer than generations before, and so we weren't as like out of the nest as early. Maybe.
It's a great point.
Because the economy was so bad, we couldn't afford to, so it's just like, just stay home.
Yeah, it was easy for our parents and grandparents to buy property and all that.
Right, exactly.
So it's easy now.
A curse and a blessing. But all right, well, I don't want to wait any longer. I'm really excited for this episode. We have an amazing special guest, an incredible artist, a beautiful human being, a healer, a nurturer, an amazing wife and partner, an amazing friend. Her artist name is Lady Moon, and she fronts a really dope band called Lady Moon and the Eclipse. And I'm just really excited to have Lady Moon in the room. Yeah.
Woo! How lucky and blessed we are. Hey.
So do I have permission to say your government name, or can I
Yeah,
just
you
call
could
you
say
Lady
my
Moon?
government name.
Okay, because I know your government name. Gunda Badilla.
Yeah.
Gunda, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. My voice is a little on the tired side. Even though I haven't really been using my voice, I think it's just like body fatigue that
Yeah,
just like hits that area.
yeah.
But otherwise I'm feeling great. I'm just like, you know, getting through the days.
Well, you probably have body fatigue because you've been traveling. You're settled in California, but you are in New York now because you're about to launch the second leg of tour, right?
hmm
So
Yeah.
tell us about that. Like what's going on right now in this moment in time?
Yeah, so right now in this moment in time, my sister, my twin, she just had a art exhibit at one of the venues we'll be stopping at on tour, the Hudson Opera House, in Hudson, New York. And so I kind of came a little early to New York, to the East
Nice.
Coast, to support that. And that
Nice.
was a lot. That was a lot. Because my sister, she wanted me to table some of my herbal products because I also
Okay.
dabble in
Oh,
some alchemy,
Yes.
some herbal alchemy. And so she wanted me to display that. And I was like, I have to make dream catchers because it's the eclipse season. And so that kind of like took all my energy preparing for
Yeah.
that. So
Yes.
I'm really happy to have this week because this week is going to be kind of my like relax and prep for tour week.
Yes.
Um, so that's kind of what's happening right now. This is definitely a busy week for like, doing things like this, like interviews with radios and,
Mm-hmm.
just getting people excited about this eclipse season.
Yes. So let's rewind a little bit for people who don't know, because I'm already excited to get into the meat of it. But Gunda, you come from an amazing creative family. And, I don't know, how long have we known each other? What, like 6 years,
At
seven
least 10
years?
years.
Is it really already,
Yes, I
how
Gunda?
think
do
I
y'all
met you in
meet?
I met you in 2013.
Oh my God. We
It was
met
like
because
it was like the summer of 2013 when I
you
met
met
you through your
Raji
brother.
first, and my
Through your
brother,
brother.
he was busking in the
Ah,
subway.
Yeah, I met you
Yes.
through your brother. He was
Mm-hmm.
like playing this. He was always playing the saxophone in Tribeca where I was working. And one day I was like, "You're a great saxophone player. Like you play so well." He was like,
Wow.
"Yeah, no, thank you so much." He was like, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to put together a band, like." And so we exchanged contacts through that, but it never turned out to be us working in the band together. It kind of
Yeah.
became more of like it was like a sneaky kind of like romantic
Oh,
thing.
okay, T, we're getting the tea.
ooh,
Wait,
Mel
Uni.
loves
It didn't go.
tea.
I
It
love the
didn't.
tea.
It
Wait,
never
Uni,
got
can you mute your
serious. It
mic?
never
Because
got
when you type, you
serious.
could hear it when you type.
Oh my God. Okay,
Huh?
my bad.
When you're typing.
Oh,
No,
sorry.
that was for Uni. So yes, go
It
ahead.
never got serious, but it was always like, he's attractive. I'm attractive. We're musicians, and it was kind of like seeing something, but then it just never like really went anywhere. But I just always respected his musicality. And then he told me about you, and I was like, oh, that's who I need to be connecting with. Like, she is amazing. You had Melanie Charles in the Journey. And I was
Oh
like,
my
oh, that's
gosh.
so that like we have so much in common because I'm Lady Whitney Eclipse and like maybe we could do
Right.
a show together. Like
Oh my
I was just like
gosh.
so
That's beautiful.
like you were just like such a great like example. You were just such a great
Wow.
just everything that I was like, that's kind of what I want to be doing. Like I want to have a band, I want to be touring, I want to be traveling. Your brother was like, "Oh, she's in Japan." Oh, I'm like, "She's in Japan." Like this girl is
Oh,
going everywhere. So
wow.
like I just wanted to meet you. I remember it so bad. And then we ended up meeting each other and it was just like that's what it
And then
was.
we were locked in. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah, it was
appreciate
locked in.
you
Yeah.
meeting my brother, but really I think the main intention of the universe was to bring us together because throughout the years we've collaborated in so many different ways. And I still want to go back and talk about your family because I think that that is such a huge part of like all of the amazing varieties of art and creations that you make. And I remember Gunda is an incredible braider, like hair person. Like I don't even want to say braider because I feel like you do art with the hair.
Yeah, I would
It's
say
more
hair
than just
art.
braiding, hair art. And one of the times when I remember when you would do work on my hair and you would talk to me about your family and how you guys were basically like a traveling dance troupe. Like, please talk about that part
Yeah.
of your life coming up.
Yeah, so my dad, he's from the Congo, he's Congolese, from the Republic region, the in Brazzaville. Brazzaville was like, I guess, the city that he grew up in. So,
Mm,
when people think of the Congo, they think of the Democratic Republic, which
yes.
is
Yeah.
more like, the Belgian colonial territory, but he's more of like the French colonial territory, which is
Mhm.
the Republic. And so that's where he grew up in. And at the time when he was really young, the colonizers were there, the missionaries were there.
Wow.
The schooling was just very hardcore for young people because they had really cruel punishments for to keep them from speaking their language. And there were also punishments to keep them from practicing some of their traditions, including like dance traditions. But there was like an undercover group that saw my dad dancing in the streets because he like left school and he was 8 years old, and they recruited him into their troupe that became the National Ballet of the Congo when it became independent. And so
Wow.
when he went to Paris, he, started his own ballet, Ballet in Kodia. And my mom at the time was in college, and she was also a part of this African traditional dance group at Old Westbury. And so they were traveling around learning from other traditional troops from Africa. And that's how my parents met in Paris.
Wow. Oh my
And
gosh.
so they met each other, had kids, got married, all that stuff. And, by the time I was like one, or right before I was born, they had started their own company. And so that's what I grew up in. So I grew up in their company that they created that not too long after I was probably about 6 years old when they moved to the States with that company. And then after, exploring working with the universities and college students and really touring with that, it became a family company,
Wow.
which was pretty
Okay.
intense growing up because it was like at a young age, we were kind of like needing to have the mentality of like business people, like professional
Yes.
performers to make money to sustain our family.
Yeah.
And that's what it trickled down to. Like it was no longer like they had dancers, they had all this. It was kind of like
You
now
guys
it's
were the
just the
dancers.
family. And that was kind of like
Mm.
that happened like around 97. So what happened was in 95 my dad had a manic episode. So yes, my dad is also manic bipolar. And
Mhm.
Mhm.
so, he had a manic episode which kind of that kind of turned the path and created a new path for the family company being just family.
Okay.
Because this is all my parents knew. They just knew to be performers. And that's how they always made their income.
Mhm.
And my mom was also an educator on the side, but for my dad, like this was his whole life. He didn't know any other way. So like
Yeah.
we were now, trained to be performers basically.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like a little bit the history of like the family company. I have 10 brothers and sisters. We
Wow.
all
What?
grew up in this company. We all
Yeah.
like was a part of
Wow.
it. When we moved to Hudson, New York in 97, it became just the seven of us that were all the other ones were older.
Mhm.
They had moved on to live their lives. They have a different mother. And so it was just the seven. So it was the seven, you know, just really committing to this family company.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah.
Even though I've heard bits and pieces of this story, hearing you break it down and lay it out like that is just so beautiful because I literally see how you've taken that sort of concept of family
Mm,
creation and business and like just like way of life. You've
mm,
continued in that tradition with your eclipse project, Lady Moon and the Eclipse, which is
mm,
also a fusion of basically family plus added people. Like,
mm,
have do you even think like have you ever thought like, okay, I'm gonna do this, this is how dad and mom did it, like
yeah.
this is how it is, or did just organically you just find, wait a minute,
Yeah. Well, actually, at first, in the beginning, so I was 20. I just turned 22 when I started Lady Mini Eclipse in a small little city upstate. This is also like before any kind of social media, like and this is a small city, meaning like upstate. There are not a lot of Black people doing anything. Like it's basically I was like the star Black child that's like
Mhm.
singing and doing something. So like as soon as I just put myself, exposed myself in that way, I immediately drew a lot of attention from the non-Black audience of the Hudson area. And so, it was I feel like uh that's kind of what happened. It just kind of like I thought of an idea and people just reacted so quickly and so well to it that it
Yeah,
just kept going. Like I never thought that I was going to pursue music actually. Like I knew I wanted to be a performing artist somehow, but
yeah,
maybe just like a background thing, like a dancer or like something like that. But I never knew that like me just writing poetry and writing songs would turn into like, oh, like I'm getting asked to do a show here, or asked to feature here, or asked to do this here. And like so I just been honestly going with it since that day. Like I just been going with that energy since, yeah.
well, and also, I think, but maybe from the outside, I know that your 2 sisters are
Oh yeah,
also, like, a huge part of your project, so it's also cool that you could be like, "Hey, guys, sing this part," like, at the
right.
house, and, like, hear it together, and, like, I imagine that you're able to create really organically because your collaborators, your bandmates are, like, right there, like,
Right.
that's dope.
Yeah, no, when it started, it was musicians coming to me interested in working with me, and it was not family at first. Like maybe my brother played a
Oh,
little percussion, but
okay.
I used to just sing myself, and like if I recorded anything, I would do all the backups and stuff.
Mhm.
But like I I had a lot of really bad experiences kind of being on my own. Like, I was young and naive. Like, and I was working with people like twice my age. So, they had a way of like trying to tell me what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing right, like kind of
Yeah,
controlling me a
yeah.
little bit because
Mm,
I was just very naive when I started. And
mhm.
um, so I feel like that's the reason why I incorporated more family because I felt like I didn't feel
Mm.
safe doing it by myself. Like, I felt like I needed somebody to back me up if somebody gonna
Yeah,
come over here and try to, tell me what I need to do or how I'm doing it
yeah.
and I wanted it to be more fun. I wanted it
Mhm.
to be, yeah, like that family vibes experience like that I grew
Yeah.
up with. And so that kind of came to me as with an intention, probably later on, like in the third trial of like reestablishing Lady with the Eclipse. Like I had to
Mm.
go through
Different
many trials of it
incarnations
when
of
I
it.
started. Yeah.
Mhm.
So when I started it in Brooklyn, that's when I incorporated my sisters,
Okay.
which was around the time I met
Um,
you,
yeah,
2013.
that's when it really gelled. It's interesting because me and Uni are, like, jazz school girls. Like, we
Mm,
did that journey toward like, along our creativity, right? And I feel like I don't wanna speak for you, Uni, but I did have, like, organic moments, like, my mom loves music, and we connected musically and all, but definitely came through in, like, a culture of teachers and, like, mentors and
mm,
instruction in art, like,
Mhm.
and within the institution. And I feel like that has informed the way in which I create. And just today, I was just
uh,
meditating on how, like, I don't want to create like that anymore. Like, since I was 10
Yeah.
years old, I've been rehearsing for the recital, you know what I mean?
mm,
And like, or for the talent show or for this production. And like, I feel like it's still good. Like, I'm not trying to talk down about the art that
yeah,
I've made and the things that I've done, but I do desire a more connected way of creativity so that the art itself will reflect that. Like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes, I know exactly what you're saying. It yes, as I'm echoing exactly what you said. Yes, thankful for the education that we've gotten because not everyone has the privilege to do that.
mhm,
And there's a lot that you learn, and there's also a high standard that can be weighed on you
mhm,
when you go through that route.
mhm.
So it's kind of like learning and then unlearning,
mm,
Yes,
you
yes.
know, and and going back to the source of what brought you to the music to begin with.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we talk about it on this podcast all the time is the institutional struggles that we've dealt with up to this point, and breaking that and moving against that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what trill is,
Mhm.
essentially, to make jazz trill again for our community of people that have felt that stronghold in a
Mhm.
lot of ways.
Mhm.
So yeah, I totally
Mhm.
agree, and it's only been up until recently for myself as well, where I'm like fighting against that, breaking against that, because what is attached to institutionalisms is racism, is
Hierarchy.
sexism, hierarchy.
Mhm.
You know, you didn't see a lot of women in a lot of places, so I
Mm.
say all that to say yes, Mel. That's
Yeah.
that comes with that, and I
And
agree.
I'm seeing how I'm so happy for you, Gunda. You didn't get poisoned by that, and
Mhm.
so the art that you make is like you're on everybody's mood board, like you know what I mean, like because
Well, well, the
like,
thing is, hold on a second, because I did get poisoned by it in a way, because the same way that you guys are expressing that construct and way of like, just a way of like, yeah, institutionalizing, a way of scripting what should be just free flowing. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like the musicians that I was working with, they had that mentality.
Right.
So like there was always this like butting of heads, because I'm just kind of like
Mhm.
trying to free flow and just like, let's just create one with the energy and what we're
Right.
feeling. And they're kind of just like, oh, I need the chords and I need the
Right. What
time and
key
I
is
need
it?
this, and like this
Right.
theory
Mhm.
for it that's like written and controlled, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, so I actually did go to music school, because I felt like maybe if I do this I will be respected more, like maybe I need to just like
Okay.
learn this language so that I can, have a better relationship with these musicians.
Mhm.
But then when I went to school, I was stressed. I was good, and I understand and I respect it, like the same way you guys say respect it. Like,
Mhm.
because at the end of the day, when they talk about the history and the root of where it's all coming from, and they say these scriptures or musical chords and are written content is actually written on scribes, and we know
Mm.
scribes can only
Mm.
grow in the hot
Mhm.
climate.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that actually gave me some sort of like peace, because I was like, okay, this is really rooted from my people.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I don't have to feel this like frustration, because all I'm seeing are these European men and, kind of like dominating how this music is created and
Yeah.
written. And it's like, that was always like an issue for me, because it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, we literally spent like a whole semester on one guy. And there was never a point where they tell you exactly who the teachers were. Like, who was his teachers? Like, where did he? You said he
Mm.
studied in Italy, right? So, like, we know Italy around that time was colonized by the Moor. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit more about that, and let me feel
Yeah.
a little bit more relatable to the way that what you're teaching me, so that I can, because I do believe that being able to write music like poetry, being able to write, a score like you're writing a poem. I love that. I think that's
Mhm.
beautiful. But I feel like, the when they teach it to you and it's not your people representing it, it kind of like frustrates you. And I feel like that
Yeah.
when I went to school to study music, it was very frustrating for me. Like,
Yeah.
so I was like, yeah, I don't, I did 3.5 years, and my father passed away, and he came with a very strong energy of like, go back to your old ways, like go back to the way you were doing
Mm.
it, incorporate more family, and yes, you have the theory now, you know it, you understand it, but like,
Mhm.
make sure you're still connecting with the free flowing, the family, don't get too caught up in that
Yeah.
style. And
Yeah.
so
That's good.
I'm sure both are being mixed up a little bit now
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
but I do feel like the free
Mm.
flowing kind of, audio, what is it, auditory flow. I like that style. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Me
Like, I
too.
like a boom bat and a peep pop. Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think
anyway.
that people, the listeners, receive that better.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so I think if we remember that and just allow our true expression to flow, that we should, be okay. I think, one of the reasons why we did this episode today, that we scheduled this conversation, is because you're going to be performing at Sultan Room in 2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks? In a week.
I think so. Wait.
On the
March
21st?
Yeah.
March 21st.
March
Yeah, it's
21st.
about a little under 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I feel like Lady Moon and the Eclipse is such a I remember when you guys were doing a lot of your performances before the pandemic, when you were um hosting like different what were you guys calling them?
We were doing like these the gospel.
The gospel, yes.
Yes.
And it was an incredible curation where you would have some of the dopest bands, local bands, usually in the New York tri-state area.
Mm.
And then you guys would also perform. It would happen at really different cool venues around New York. That's what, before the pandemic, there was a liveliness in the city.
Mm.
When I think about that time, what year would you say, years would you say
That
that
was like
was?
between year that was like between 2000s. It was like 2016, 17,
For the
15,
people
16, 17, around that time. Yeah.
For the people who are listening, can you like remind us like who are some of the artists that you guys featured on the gospel? It
Oh
was
yeah,
so
like okay,
amazing.
so yeah, we featured we had there were like uh comedians, DJs, musicians, dancers. It was like the
Oh,
gospel was
wow.
all about sharing the constellation of art. Like it's not just
Mm.
one thing. Like
Ooh,
we
I like that.
even
Is
though
that the
we
name of
do
the
Mhm.
all these
episode? The Constellation of Art?
yes.
Yes,
Ooh,
period.
come on, Gunda.
Yes,
Thank
because that's
you.
what it is. It's like we are a
Yes.
constellation of art. Like
Mhm.
the art is so beautiful, so diverse, and it was just an opportunity to experience it all together. And that also included
That
like
is
vendors,
bad.
like visual
Mhm.
artists and like
Mhm.
designers, you know.
Yeah.
It was like everybody was included in this experience, and that was the gospel. Like let's talk about it.
Yes.
Like, let's be in this
Mm.
experience of truth. Like this is the truth.
Mhm.
This is what, you know, made Soho what it is. Like, this is what makes Hudson what it is right now. It's like the
Mhm.
art first coming through, and
Mm.
then that attracts all the energy, all the souls, and so that's kind of what the gospel was about. And so yeah, we had artists like, you know, Oshun, we had Jojo Abbott, we had my brother Young Paris, we had um Kalan the Lost Tribe, we had uh um Sydney Washington, she's a comedian now that blew up. Um just I can't even there's just so many people we worked at different times. And it was a lot.
I
But
did one.
yeah.
I did a gospel, didn't I?
You
Yes, Molly
did?
Charles,
Yes.
Molly Charles. Absolutely. Like I
Um,
can't even remember all of it. Like we have all of it archived.
yes.
But yeah, it was really a time where it was like right before Instagram became the center space for like people showing and featuring art. Like Instagram was there, but
Mhm.
Instagram was like kind of like a side thing. Like people were
Yeah.
still kind of engaging in community in real life. But then
Yeah.
Mhm.
Instagram started to
Mm,
become that space of like, let me engage with community here on this like
Mhm.
computer.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it kind of like became like the space to kind of feature your art, share your art, and just kind of exist. And
Yeah.
so it took away from that a little bit, but I know people
Mhm.
really want it. People want to come together and make things real. But yeah, and I think what happened was like Instagram became such a bigger tool that which was great because so many artists just like blew up on Instagram. Like they really
Mhm.
were able to expose themselves to such a wider audience beyond their own city. And so I think that's great. I think that's wonderful, and that was very necessary. Um, so, but when you blow up, you kind of in another headspace. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? For
Yeah.
not for everyone, but
Yeah.
for some people, it's like they become a little different when they, um,
When
go
certain
there.
types of success, yeah, they
Right.
find
It's
success.
difficult.
It
Instagram
is.
is hard. It's
It
really,
is.
it really challenges and it can mess you up.
It is.
So,
Yeah, it's like you gotta tread lightly, but also
right.
use it to your advantage and also
Exactly.
protect yourself from it at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the gospel and the events and the eclipse season tours and like all of those things that you guys were doing around that time sent out waves into the creative
Mm.
community and the art community, and like years later, like I see glimpses of what you guys have done in so many different artists and different types of curations and stuff. And
Yeah.
so for me, I feel very passionate of like we have to do what we have to do as in MJTA and all of the listeners to really show up for you and what you're bringing to New York and to Philly and to all of the other
Mm.
states, cuz like you guys are the core of like all like Afro punk, like all of these all
Yeah,
don't
like
get
it
me
was
don't get
it
me
was kind of
wrong
crazy. Like,
now.
no, listen, like it was crazy. Like that's why we don't do the maquillage like we used to, because like at that Afro punk that blew up, like the one that you right before the one that like right before it became this like big corporate thing and we performed and everything. Um, I feel like we did the maquillage. I swear we probably painted like at least 200, 300 faces, like, and that it was so photographed, like everybody was walking around with this face paint, and it just went everywhere, like it just
Mm,
became such a
it's
major
stunning.
thing that like it spread so much, and like so many people started doing it and having a business of it and all these things. We were seeing it
Mhm.
in music videos, everything was like it was very much like copy and paste, and we're like, oh, those are our designs, like those are our creations. And even my brother, he was actually signed with Rock Nation at the time. So, he was like at, Jay-Z's brunch, Grammy brunch. Like
With his
he was
maquillage.
very much associated with, and one of uh Solange and their uh really good friends, who is the A&R for Jay-Z that signed my brother. She was at our 30th birthday slumber party. You know what I mean? So it's like we were
Wow.
just very close
Mm.
to that. So I could see how like there was just a lot of inspiration. Like you said, the mood board was like, oh, this family is like really bringing something that we haven't experienced. So, and even if we have experienced this traditional African way with the dots, that's not like a new thing. But the way they're bringing it, it just makes it
Yes.
Mhm.
something that can be maybe more approachable to the
He,
to the masses.
yeah.
So just the vibe, oh, the celestial perspectives and way of thinking and the moon and all that stuff. It's like, this is
Mhm.
very like much what we need in the world. So in a way, it's
Yeah.
kind of like we're all okay with it going like super mainstream, and a lot of these big artists being inspired by it,
Yeah.
because I do think it was necessary to get that far. And we're just not a family that, like, yes, we like to do art, we like to create, but we're not doing it for
Right.
to
For
be
accolade,
famous and rich. Like we're,
right?
yeah, if, I like to get paid for what I'm doing, but my intention isn't to, be this big, super big thing. Like, I'm just doing it because this is my art. Like
Yeah.
this is my way of
Mhm.
creating. This is all I know. Like I'm just being a
Literally.
creative.
Right. You're just
And
being
if I
yourself.
feel like if it's offering medicine and healing to people and inspiration, then that is a good role that I can play in the world to help other people. Like, I just
Yeah.
feel like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But and if people are inspired by it and it allows them to, be in a consciousness or shift into a way that's better for them, then I also think that that's just what I'm here for. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I've learned that through that experience. Because at first I was like,
Yeah.
that performance looks just like my performance. Like,
Yes. Yes.
I was
That.
like, hold on a second, it's a
Mhm.
little too copy and
It
paste,
it
and
was
and it did bother
literally.
me because it's like, wow, people really do take your art.
I mean,
Like
I
they
think
will take it.
that's just normal,
Right, right. You know
I
that.
well, yes, and it's still a hard pill to swallow, but I think that like the role of like critics and like writers and like historians is to constantly raise awareness to the originators of things. Like it's easy
Mm,
to talk about the people that blew up and who we easily associate with that, but like that's why I'm so passionate about like us like really supporting you, Gunda, and your family and Lady Winnie Eclipse and all of it, so that people know when they see that Afro punk really where, what was the beginning of the fire of that aesthetic, or, the Solange aesthetic, all of that. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying that Afro punk and Solange and all these people, we all have our creativity flowing, and
Right, right,
there's so much
right.
going on in the world, but like it really is important to see where things are drawn from. You know what
Mhm,
I mean?
mhm,
Like that.
mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much giving Afrofuturism,
Right,
Mhm.
Sun Ra,
right,
and all of all of those things that
Yeah.
it sounds like you grew up with that in your house
right.
as a teaching, as the the culture that your father instilled. So it's just part of you, and you're
Yeah.
just
Right.
expressing that. It's
Yeah.
not like it wasn't influence what you've seen and what you heard. It's just in your blood.
It's just in
Right.
you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's actually no influences, and like
Exactly.
a lot of people were telling me like, "Oh, you remind me of Sun Ra, you remind me of Sun Ra, you remind me of Earth, Wind and Fire," and like they'll say all these names. And I did grow up listening to Earth, Wind and Fire, but I actually didn't know anything about Sun Ra until after the
Mm,
fact. And then I learned of him, and I was like, "Oh, I could see that. I could see that." And
Yeah.
actually, I feel like that's the time we're in right now. I feel like
yeah.
we're in
Mm.
that expansive time of being
Mhm.
a little bit more beyond, this just physical construct. Like,
Yeah.
actually, we should be tapping
Yes.
into the sun and moon a little more. Like,
Yeah.
these are
Mm,
our parents as well. Like,
Yeah.
so I could see how this is just the time that we're in. So to me, it's a benefit to society for more people to be channeling in that more celestial way. And
Yeah.
so for
yeah.
me, I just feel like if I can be an inspiration that turns that light, that sparks that in people, then that's what, I feel like that's what I'm here for. It's just to inspire people to bring more of that than to not have it, because I think it's important. And like, yeah, yeah, I've actually learned a lot about these other celestial artists after the fact. Like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I can see that.
Yeah, and I can, and I've always known that this is just pure to you, because I feel like you also, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, create out of a space of what is needed. So
Mm,
like you make your own costumes. Like y'all gotta wear some on stage.
right.
Like this is not gonna be Babylon. You're not gonna go to
And
the
I
store to
can't
be buying
find
your clothes
anything
like
at
that.
these stores that's just don't fit right. Like
So
I
you
just don't
like
see the
Right.
vision when I go to a store. I don't see it.
so you make it
So
yourself.
I have to
Like,
make it.
how stunning, how beautiful. I've been blessed that you've made me pieces that I've loved and that were really special moments for me in my outward expression. I think because you have always understood the importance of, yes, it's spirit, it's ears, it's sound, but it's also visually what are we looking at? What are we experiencing? What is the story that is being told here? I think about like the Sagrada, the Sagrada Familia in Spain, that
Mm,
Gaudi church, that big church that he built, and it's so beautiful. And everywhere I feel like I've mentioned this before in this podcast. Everywhere you look, it's just like beauty, and like the whole
mm,
intention is to like show the grandeur and the greatness of God by all of this like
mm,
beautiful things, And I feel like that's also a part of your artistry is like beautification and like femininity and love and light, and like it instantly when we see you on the screen, when we experience you live, like it just like comes over us, and we just suddenly like settle into a peaceful state, a more inquisitive state of like what could be. So I think that's also a really dope part of your full expression.
mm. Thank you for seeing me, Melanie Charles.
Yeah,
Well,
I
well
really
does.
do.
I feel like you always been that like cheerleader and coach on the side. Like, Cal, you are just you doing it out here. Like you've always been like such a light and such a like I see you. Like you always letting me know that I see you. I see
Yes,
what's going
Amber.
on. Like I see you. That's so important for an artist because
It is.
especially like for someone that I respect, and love and care about really deeply, like to really see you and like to not forget you. We go through so many journeys with people that just, they come and go and come and go, but to
Yeah.
to to really to still have someone that actually like acknowledges you and respects you and still sees
Oh
you
yeah,
like
Grinda.
that's like a whole chunk of gold. Like
Yes, that's even more important than like your regular audience and people. Yes, you want
Right.
people to come to your shows and listen to your music, but when you have somebody that really sees you like that,
Yeah.
that
Mm.
supports you, and that's what really feeds your soul, like the
Yeah.
people that are close to you and your friends.
Yeah.
It,
I'm
it's
I
special.
I think we've been able to really see each other because we both have dealings with family members with mental health issues.
Mhm.
And we've both been very like involved and like in that journey. And I feel like that kind of teaches you to like see people because
Yeah.
when you have schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, you might appear to be like problematic and crazy and wild. But if you take the time to see the person, you see, no, there's another thing going on in there. That
Mhm.
Yeah.
person ain't, fully, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's definitely been a tough journey. I don't know if you're comfortable talking about it. My whole thing about advocacy and mental health stuff is that like if we can normalize it and just talk about it like we talk about, oh, I'm allergic to this or I'm allergic to that. Oh, I have schizophrenia or my brother is dealing with that. I feel like that's another step in like figuring out how to figure out this problem sooner.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No
It really
pressure,
is.
but if you're
And to live a
comfortable.
normal
No,
life,
it's
and for
not.
them
It's
to live a
not a
normal
pressure.
life.
Hmm.
I would love to have the support and the platform to talk about that because, and even recent, my brother's first of all been in a pure manic state for 4 months now, and it's been like as a family member, you're basically like even my voice, you hear like you really are like it's overwhelming. It's like an overwhelming feeling,
Yeah.
even if you're still able to function in life and do your own thing. To constantly be like in the not knowing and in the fear and like not and just praying for your brother, just hoping he's okay, hoping he's all right. With knowing his true heart and knowing how peaceful and
Hmm.
loving and talented he is, and then that he's not even able to access that right now because he's just in such a manic state that is often triggered by society and what
Mhm.
Yeah.
society has to offer, especially these black men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like it's heartbreaking and it's overwhelming for the body and soul.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for me, I wish there was a platform to help people, just family also,
Yes.
because this is a traumatic experience for us too.
Yes.
We
Mhm.
cannot settle. We have no peace when our
Yeah.
relative is not peaceful. And
Yes.
so, it's the support for the family, but also the proper sustainable support for the case.
Yes.
And if you don't have, the wealth, then you don't have a real sustainable approach.
Yeah.
And my brother, he is, you know, what the only thing they really have to offer him is like, a needle, a jab in the arm that can with
Yeah.
medication that fuels to his system for a month. Like that's kind of like all he has with the funds that our family and that he has with his insurance. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just so unfortunate that people who don't have like as black people, first of all, like we need to really advocate for this reparations because we shouldn't even be worrying about healthcare.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that shouldn't even be a
Exactly.
we shouldn't even be having the thought of like, trying to heal ourselves. And then not
Yeah.
only that, but healing ourselves in a very controlled, institutionalized way where it's like there's no real true sustainable alternatives but this like medical system, like this
Yeah.
drug filled
Yeah.
system and these high insurance company business, exchanges. And it's like it's just so corrupt and there's just no real sustainable approach there. And it really is it's a heartbreaking thing for not only the mental case, the family member that's dealing with this
Yeah.
state, but the
Yeah.
family that has to support it. Like,
It's very traumatic. I mean, you
Mhm.
speak about like money, even if even people who are rich, it's the same medication. It's the same.
right,
It's like we're just delayed with
right,
like the resources. And also we need to speak more like the families of people going through this, like there needs to be some
right.
kind of
It
like
needs to be something.
union or
Of
something.
course.
But I
And
think
then that's
I
even
think
people that have family. There's people that we see every day on the streets,
That don't have
going on
anyone.
the
right, don't got no
subways,
family.
and that have
Because
no
that's
one,
what
and
the
they end up homeless, and then they end up either getting killed or hurting someone, or hurting themselves. And it's just
hmm
this vicious cycle that goes all the way down from the food that we eat to how the
Mhm.
food is treated to the chemical chemicals that are put in our medicines
Just
and the
whatever they're
money
putting
that fuels these institutions of that
Yeah.
are the health insurance companies to the doctors to then you're in this helpless cycle.
Right.
What do I even do? And then on
I
top of that, you're black. So it's like
right.
here we are.
I did do some research though, and I did find like like because I started access. I did access like some like wealthy white friends that I have. Just gonna keep it real, and they did give me a lot of resources for holistic approaches
Okay.
that are residential, where you can live out in the countryside in a really
What?
nice looking house,
Okay.
and you got your own room, and you got yoga, and you got all kinds of holistic kind of work practices, meals 3 times a day.
Mhm.
They do medical detox. They do like a detox program, especially if you've been consuming a lot of substance to kind of manage self
Mhm.
manage. And they do like detoxing programs, and you can
Mm,
live up to a year in that place. And some of them even help. They do outpatient work where they help you get a job, and they help keep up with you. And they kind of like approach it where you are no longer on the medicine, and then you have
Okay.
this
Yeah.
relationship now with this institute in this other home kind of space holistic approach, and where it's just like a new place you can go to, and that does exist, and I found an abundance of that. But the
wow.
only thing is that most of them do not accept your regular insurance.
Right. Right.
Most
Mm,
of them don't even accept it, and some of them don't even accept insurance at all. So
Yeah.
you gotta
Yeah.
just pay out the pocket. That's like 42K a year.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. It's
like $5,000
expensive.
a month, you know? So,
Oof.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, yeah, they figured out they figured out how to take care of their own. But then when it comes to like us, it's like
it's
the
non-existent.
alter the what our options are very limited to, the system. So,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
and we should talk about that because I think like I'm really in the energy of reparations. I'm in the energy of reparations, and I feel like I'm okay with making the people that are living a very the white people and their ancestors. I think they need to be held a little bit more accountable,
Yeah.
and they need to step up a little more. And like a lot of their they'll have like a you know they'll come and colonize a city and have their boutiques and their shops and their clothing shops and all this stuff, and they have these trusts and these ways of just having businesses that nobody go into that they could still afford. It's like y'all could also invest a little bit of your time and energy to the reparations for the people that you kind of exile out of this little city that y'all took over. Like,
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I feel like
Yeah.
that should be held accountable a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
Agreed.
what I mean? Like, I know
Yeah.
we don't, we know we're kind of just trying to get by. We're trying to just survive in life. It's a lot of time and energy to kind of, you know, do a movement to, hold these people accountable, these, you know, gentrifiers accountable, whatever. But I do think that the more we have stepping up to support our needs as Black people, the better, the closer we're going to get to having access to that, in a more sustainable way.
It's
Yeah.
galvanizing and coming together to demand that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we kind of have to demand it. So
Yeah. I've been thinking about that a lot lately about like all the issues that are going on and how everyone's like, well, you have to do something. And then when they talk about doing something, most of the time they mean you have to make a Twitter post or make an Instagram post. That's really
mm,
the extent that people go with.
That is not
mm,
doing
And I'm
anything.
like, y'all, okay.
right,
And
yeah,
then,
that's
but
not.
then there's a small percentage of people who are like, no, we have to like write to the Senate and we have to like really like work on the legislation, which I agree and we should be doing that. But I also imagine like we need to go back to like how the Black Panthers had an organization that was driven by the people for the people, and find a way to then be use that as a mouthpiece to communicate to the Senate collectively like this
Mm,
is what we need, instead
mm-hmm,
of like
So the
individuals
voice
writing.
is more powerful.
You know
Right.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
and just have a clarity of what it is we're looking for.
Right.
But how do you do that? Like, that just sounds like a
You know
really
what?
big feat, and like, it's like I'm dreaming, because we can have these conversations all the time. What's really going to change?
Well, so you know what? I had this idea. I thought of this idea of it's really simple, but because I don't feel like I have the capacity to like even be a part of a movement, like but unless it was like designed in a way that like I feel like I can access it better.
Hmm.
But something that I would be interested in doing that I feel like could be like a cool movement that happens is anyone who got a Black Lives Matter sign on their door or window or grass. Like I feel like I want to go up to their house and be like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing for Black lives? Like, what are you doing to make their lives matter?
Mhm.
And just like literally
Yeah.
going up to them and just asking them, putting a little
Mm,
bit of the heat and the pressure,
Right.
because even though yes, we can get together as I think that is beneficial to get to unify as a people that are needing these demands and going to the House and the representatives and but
Right.
sometimes they
I
don't really
think
hear you unless you have a lot more white people on your side. Like
yeah,
if you
yeah,
got like
it's
a
true.
larger group of like real everyday middle class, high class, whatever white people that are also right by you saying, yeah, we need to make these changes, then I think that's when you're as black people as even unified or considered more,
Mhm.
and so
One step even
that's just my
yeah.
thought. But I feel like I definitely want to be challenging like real everyday people that, I see you got a sign. I'm walking up the street in my city, and anybody who got a sign, I want to ask you like, what are you doing? Because that's
Mhm.
that movement. Yeah, it's been co-opted, but that's the real thing that we're still dealing with. So
Mhm.
like, can you tell me like what you're actually doing and what are you going to continue to do to that's on a consistency to help make this a reality, you know, and not just like a funding bank, like you know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Mhm. I feel like one thing that would help with that too is when you go up to them and say, "What are you doing?" If they don't have an answer, offering like, "Well, you know what you could do."
mm,
Right. Right.
yeah, right. Have something here. This is what you can do
This is
This
what
would
right
be an
here in your
interesting
city.
TV
Let's
series. This
just
would be an
focus on
interesting
the city you
reality
live
show.
in.
Yeah, that would be dope. And just like document like opening up that conversation. It's
right.
very interesting
Yeah,
concept.
it's like, "Oh, yeah, business,
No,
how many
listen.
black people are you hiring? How many black people are you giving a position to make decisions?" The whole thing is like where black people have to be placed in places where they can make decisions.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah.
Where we can make decisions that can help the community, that can put us in better situations that we're in, that will give us access. One thing that I've really been thinking about a lot in the past year is when I think about arts institutions, performing arts institutions in particular, and it's all about where the money comes from. And a lot of the money
mm,
tends to come from white folks. So then you still see their programming looking a certain way, still
mm,
just like, oh, they looks like they're just trying to check off boxes.
mm,
And when you see that happen, many times it's because the money is white. There might be some folks in there that are black, that are like on the programming team
mm-hmm,
or on whatever, helping to get the work done. But when it comes to like being on the board members and the people that like development departments are trying to please when it comes to getting their money, they're not. I feel like they're not targeting black people because you
right.
have when the money is cut. But then it's like it has to be balanced somehow because we don't have a lot of money. So I don't know. It's just something that I've been really thinking about, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
our we have to also put our money in our own communities where we
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
the change is being made too, because in nonprofit in particular, the institutions are looking to please the people that have the
Have the
money.
money.
So
Right. But we can have the money if you give us some.
exactly. So it's like this cycle, right? Because they
It's
also
weird.
fund artists to create their art at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
But yeah,
I,
no, you
I,
it went all the way.
yeah, and I feel like every time we have these conversations, I must say, I feel by the end of them, I feel hopeless, because it always feels so big. But I think that what all we can do is continue the conversations,
Mm-hmm.
continue to make the art that we
Right.
make,
Mm.
continue to do the healing. I'll never forget, Gunda, your baby daddy told me when I first met him that a great performance or great music is supposed to changes the molecular structure of your brain.
Mm.
He told me that when I first met him, and I never forgot about that. And
Mm.
it made it shined light on how yes, what we do is very powerful because we can inspire people to think different and be like, why do I do this that way? Let me try something else.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to Ken. I just call him your
Mm.
baby daddy, but he also your husband and partner, incredible
Mm-hmm.
person that has been by your side in your creative journey. So
Mm.
shout out to Ken
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. Shout out to Ken.
I will say that every episode we do a little trill trivia. And
Okay.
I do have one. Are you down to play a little bit? A little bit of trill
Yeah,
trivia?
sure. I'll try a
I
little.
got one question. So we've been talking a lot
You
about
warmed up your
artists.
hands?
You know,
Oh
you warmed up your
shoot.
hands. It is one question though, so it's either one or none.
Okay.
But we've been talking a lot about celestial artists,
Mm.
and one artist that came to mind that the spirit that you bring is Nina Simone.
Mm.
So the chill trivia question is, what was Nina Simone's biggest hit? Was it A, Feeling Good, B, Mississippi Goddamn, C, I Put a Spell on You, or D, I Loves You Porgy?
Ooh. I'm gonna guess Mississippi. Goddamn.
Oh, you're close. You're
No. Okay, it was
close.
Porgy and Bess.
Nope.
Really?
It was, and I'm feeling good.
Oh
Really? That was the
yes.
biggest hit?
Dun, dun,
Oh my
Yeah.
God. I'm actually like I just started learning that song. That's the
Really?
day we were
What?
covering it. Yeah. That song was that was the last song I thought of though, because I feel like that was a little later in her career.
It
But
was
oh, I
But
thought
so you're talking
Mississippi
about of all
Goddamn.
time. Are you talking about it's the biggest song of all time or at its time?
of all time of
Yes.
her
Oh,
whole
okay.
career.
Of her
Okay.
whole career. Okay, yeah. Okay, I can see.
Because
I know that was a hard one. I put
That's
all of
hard
the
because I
hit
thought you meant
makers.
like I thought you meant like what was the song that put her on?
yeah.
Oh, it
Yeah,
was.
What
that's what
you
it
meant
sounded
because
I'm
I
like
feel
to
sorry,
like
me.
her biggest hit of all
oh of
time.
all time I
Because
misunderstood that question
because I'm
because
feeling good is on every commercial right
yeah
now.
no yeah
It's
that's
everywhere.
definitely the biggest song of
So
all time. That's right.
yeah. Okay. Oh, you
Mississippi
didn't
Okay,
even
so
know
Goddamn,
my
I
curveballs.
misunderstood the question.
Mississippi Goddamn was number 3 though.
Oh, it was number 3. Well,
Mm-hmm.
so number 1 was um
Feeling
Feeling
good.
Good. Number 2 was
I loves you, Porgy.
okay, was I
Mhm,
Love You Porgy.
mhm,
Okay, and
mhm.
number 3 was
Mississippi
Mississippi,
Goddamn.
Mississippi
goddamn.
Goddamn, and then number 4 was
I put a spell on
I
you.
was telling you.
oh, I thought
But
Mississippi
I bet,
Goddamn was one because when I felt that song, that was like a hit for me. Like I
yeah,
used to play that song over and over and over again.
yeah.
I thought it was such a powerful song, and at the
Mississippi
time that she did it,
Goddamn.
I thought that was a little earlier in her career.
Yeah.
So I just really felt like that was
I
a
feel
hit.
like Mississippi Goddamn was probably hot, like huge at the time when
At
she
the
released it.
time, right at that
But I
time.
imagine I'm feeling good probably blew up more later on.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
you
I'm gonna
hear
do
it, it's
And
research.
like
also Feeling
steeped in
Good
so
with
much
Porgy
music.
and Bess are more like universal. Like
Yeah,
they're it's something everybody can relate to. Whereas
Mhm.
yeah,
Mississippi Goddamn, it's like, ooh, this is a powerful, message that she's sending, but it's like, but we don't want to keep that message.
Yeah, it's a little too woke.
A little too whoa. We
Yes,
don't
but
want
the
to keep
people
that.
loved
That's
it.
not going to be the universal one.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, well, that concludes our chill trivia. Thank you, Uni, for that. That was a hard one.
I
Okay.
know.
That was a good one. And happy birthday, Melanie.
Thank
Today's your
you.
birthday. Oh my God. What a
Woohoo.
beautiful way to like celebrate with you
Thank you.
with this
Thank
podcast
you.
and talk about Nina Simone, who's also a
Yeah.
Pisces.
Oh, that's right. She is a Pisces.
Look
Yes.
at
When's her
That's why I
birthday?
was like, wait, did they intentionally do this? Because like she's a Pisces and she's been, I always
February
think of her every Pisces season.
February 24th.
21st.
21st. Okay. Gunda, you know the children. Gunda knows some jazz facts now.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit out
Yeah.
there with the
Yeah.
jazz.
Listen,
I'm
I
not
had a
melody
feeling.
Charles level jazz though. I'm not melody Charles level jazz. But
Nah, we
I
all
got
out
a little
here.
jazzer feel.
That's crazy.
I
That's
love that.
crazy. I love it. I was getting Nina Simone vibes too, so that's perfect.
Well, the spirit of Nina is with us on today's
Yes.
episode. I think that this is a really good time to wrap it. I
Yeah.
hope that we have the last 10 minutes of your part, Gunda, because the thing was telling me that your recording is done. So we're gonna pray that it's still recording somewhere on one of our
I have a
computers.
recording light on my screen that I can see, but I don't know.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, so do I.
Okay, so we're praying for the best.
Okay.
Because I need the people to hear this episode. This was so much fun talking with you and like hearing more about your evolution. And really, I can't stress it enough. We need the people to come through. You'll be at Sultan Room on the 21st of this month, and then you're going to be in Philadelphia. What's the date for Philly? 23rd,
28.
28th.
Yeah, Thursday, 28.
Thursday the 28th. What are other cities that you're going to be hitting on this leg?
So yeah, we'll be in Hudson, New York. We'll be in Ellenville, New York, which is like the Catskills.
Nice.
We'll be in Northampton, at the Marigold Theater, and we'll be in West Stock something Suffolk. I'm sorry,
Suffolk,
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Somewhere out
Okay.
west something at the
Okay.
Foundry, and then we'll be in Vermont at the Higher Ground.
Nice.
And for the total solar eclipse, so we're actually going to be experiencing the actual solar eclipse. There will be a total eclipse in Vermont, and then we're throwing a eclipse after party.
Ooh.
So after people experience the eclipse, they're going to come and we're just going to do a big celebration, performing
Nice.
and in Vermont, in Burlington, Vermont, and that will end our eclipse season tour.
That's
Ooh,
beautiful.
that
So
sounds
it starts
dope.
in Brooklyn.
It
So
starts in
Brooklyn, we
Brooklyn.
got
The
to start it right.
synergy. Yeah, we
Yes.
have
The equinox weekend, y'all. This is the most celestial thing you're gonna get.
Ooh, I love
Yeah.
it. Are you guys are gonna do my favorite song, Stargazing?
Yes,
Do
yes,
do
yes.
do.
Yeah,
Y'all,
we're gonna
you
do
did
that.
not want to miss this.
Yeah, we're
I'm
gonna do it
excited. I
all.
haven't seen you live before. Both Zacchaeus Paul and I are going to be hosting the Sultan
Yes.
Room, and I'm
Yes.
so happy you shared all of your tour stops because we have listeners everywhere.
Yes.
So not just in New York.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
everyone
No,
make
it's
sure.
gonna be really great. Like I'm glad we started pushing this early because people are buying tickets. Like, it's gonna be I feel like it's gonna be a very successful tour because we
Yes.
started early.
Yes.
We're so
Ashe
used to like
Ayobobo.
not doing that.
That's right. It's gonna be packed in every city. All the
Yeah.
people gonna come through. They're
Yes.
gonna
Right.
tell their friends, and it's gonna be beautiful. Thank you so much, Gunda, for making time. This was a last minute organization. We made it work. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wait, I
We
need to
do.
practice my heart. Okay.
Let me do mine.
Right.
Here's mine.
I can't
The
do
youth
it.
be doing it like this. I don't. Oh, wait,
What's wrong with me?
the youth does it
My
like I don't
pinky.
even know.
The
but
youth, the young
youth,
people. You mean?
they do it
No,
in a way that it looks like a
they know how
game.
to do all that. They speaking a whole new sign
We
language.
sound like three aunties right now. Okay, so before we go, Gunda, we usually do a sign off. And we
Okay.
usually say, I say, whatever you do, and then you say, remember to. And then
Mhm.
together we say, make jazz chill again.
Okay.
Are you down for that?
Yes.
um
I'll try to remember what I gotta say. Okay.
we're gonna make sure we put the link to the tour dates and everything
Okay.
at this episode so people can tap in. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Once again, my name is Melanie Charles, signing off, and also my co-host, Unimo.
Unimo.
Thank you so much, Lady Moon.
Thank
And
you.
whatever you do,
Always remember to
make
make
destiny
destiny
again.
again.
Yes.
Go.
Yay!